coming. I'll call this meeting to order. If you all please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is to accept the minutes of the Selectmen's meeting December 30th, 2013.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from December 30th, 2013.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion, any issues with the minutes? I didn't see nothing.
Yes. The only thing that I had was that, so just make sure I'm speaking correctly, is that under the action on the Otter River, I didn't see a vote. But that's the only issue that.
By Joe.
Motion to grant license.
That's odd.
You're looking for?
The vote. The second.
Who made the motion, the second, and then,
Yeah. Okay, under action, Otter River Hotel.
Did we do a vote? Yeah, we
Uh,
did.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, that was the one, we made a motion, it was like, it was changed.
Yeah, it's a
change or
Mr.
amended.
Morrison made the
Right.
motion to grant the license. So
And it was a 4-yes.
I made the motion, but the second and the vote.
But it does not have the
Yeah.
total of the vote, if it was
Right. Correct.
3-1.
Right.
2-2.
Or who made the second.
Yeah.
Did I make the second or did?
I thought you made the
Did I?
second.
Okay, I'll take
Okay,
it.
you'll
I'll
take that one,
it.
all right. I think you did.
And it was a unanimous vote, wasn't it?
I believe it was unanimous.
You made the motion,
I done.
and Julie seconded. So,
Julie second. Yep.
all right, anything else? You all set? That's it. All right, motion made and seconded. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And yes. The next item on the agenda is an appointment. We did this, but I guess we'll make it official. To appoint Ken Robinson to the Templeton Elementary School Building Committee to expire June 30th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
Are you just adding a spot, or you feel there's somebody stepped down?
No, Julie resigned.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I didn't know.
so there's just a selectman swap. Anything else? Oh. What's up?
Yep.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Ken?
No.
And yes. The next item is job description for a town administrator and possibly vote to post that job if we come to agreement. We took a vote and sort of gave Jeff Ritter homework to draft a job description to update or change the job description for town coordinator, which we had to move it to a town administrator. He compiled a draft copy. Just in case, I compiled a job description as well. There should be a copy of each. Mine has job description, town administrator, town of Templeton at the top of it, and Jeff's is just town administrator. They are not marked drafts, but it certainly is a draft copy. I know it wasn't available prior to the meeting, so we can take a few minutes and look them over to see if there's anything that just stands out one way or another.
After glancing over both of these, I'm more inclined to go with the one that says Town of Templeton, Mass, job description, town administrator. It has a lot more detail, more specific. Sometimes that can be a liability rather than an asset. But I think for the first go-around, this is our first attempt at town administrator. And I think we need to try to encompass as much as we can, because we know what not having a town administrator has done for the town.
I will say that the draft that was prepared by Mr. Ritter, he has 7 years of administrative supervisory. I suggested 5 to 7 with at least 3 years in managerial, but he specified 5 years experience in municipal administration with at least 3 years spent as an administrator, executive secretary, or coordinator. I think that's better wording than the draft that I wrote. It could be added in there, changed, whatever, but it specifies more clearly the experience in what we'd be interviewing for. I was, my draft is more generalized, which may widen the field, but perhaps more specificity in the language would be better. That's just my opinion.
To get to a master's degree versus a bachelor's degree, is that something?
Here's a thought. You might wish to, these are minimum entrance requirements. Bachelor's degree is a requirement with progress to an achievement of a master's degree within a certain period of time from the date of hire, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, and proof of regular progress towards same. You don't want to limit yourself too much. On the other hand, you do need to raise the bar.
Yes, well, both of my concerns are addressed by either, which are that the town administrator will be ultimately responsible for overseeing the preparation of the town's yearly budget, and then also that the town administrator will be responsible for acting on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, through his or her own decision-making priorities, to guide and direct all of the town department heads. And those were kind of my two big issues, and they both include it, so either one
It takes the politics out of a lot of those decisions.
Right. So I'm fine with either one. They both do what I think needs to be done.
Mr. Bennett, if
Yes.
I might, the only other comment I have for the board, the public, is each town is unique. From an administrator's point of view, every town is the same and every town is different. Which, I mean, the structure is similar from town to town, but each town's unique in its history and its traditions. I think the board would be well served by going through whichever draft you choose and deciding individually and then collectively as a board just specifically which duties and responsibilities, that's why I brought up highlighter, you want to hand to the administrator, and by default, which duties and responsibilities you choose to retain for the board in public session assembled. A contentious one, to use an example, would be settling lawsuits for the town. Right now, under the town bylaw, the Board of Selectmen is the only authority to settle a claim against the town. You can delegate that if you choose to do so. You would have to amend the bylaw if you delegate it and do not require the board ultimately to countersign on that settlement. That's a good example, you know, when it comes to pay, when it comes to negotiations for contract and litigation. Those are the tough ones for any town to decide who's going to handle. And that would be my homework assignment between now and when you ultimately settle, is to decide just which of those you want to retain and which ones you specifically want a professional administrator to handle for you. You could delegate all, some, none, whatever.
And again, at the last meeting, the view was expressed that the board's not really making a decision, they take too long. You know, are you gonna do it? Like, would you just keep putting it off? But ultimately, good governance with open transparency and making the decisions, it is cumbersome and it does take time. And I think the townspeople are better served and the board gains trust from the residents, the voters, the taxpayers, however you classify them, by doing this, by not coming in here and throwing something down and saying, yep, bang. And so the question would be, well, when was that decided? When did you vote on that? Because it has the appearance of, you come in, you have a document, yep, bang, this is it, and you don't really discuss it and really take a good look at it. And I just think it just projects, even though it is cumbersome and it is time consuming and it doesn't seem like it happens quick enough, it begets you, the townspeople, as your major representatives, open transparency, which I believe is good governance and works towards gaining your trust that, you know, things are not done behind closed doors and the deal wasn't made before we came out here. That's my opinion for what it's worth, and that's why I don't think it's a bad thing in some ways to take our time and we deliberate, or it goes 3 weeks, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks before a final decision is made. This is a big transitional step for this town. I know it's been brought up at town meeting before, and it was like, oh, the Board of Selectmen, they're going to lose their power, we're going to lose our representation, we're going to lose this, we're going to give it all to one person. And yet now we hear from residents publicly and privately, at least I do, that this is what is wanted, this is what is needed. And we have also had it brought up, the financial review from the Department of Revenue, town accountant, the forensic consultant we've had, that you should make this move and you should do this. And we should have someone full-time, better versed, more professional, handling a lot of these duties. And again, as Mr. Ritter stated, we vote as to the authority we wish to give and the responsibility that we wish to give or retain. Because we can't give authority to do all these things by maintaining the responsibility to have the final sign-off, if we so choose. And again, it's a board decision. And I think it is best done out here in public. Yes?
So, in my opinion, the town absolutely needs an administrator versus a coordinator. We absolutely do. And just because we allow the administrator to run the day-to-day operations, that still doesn't preclude things from coming to the board to be discussed in open meeting. Just as you said, if a document came, rather than just being a rubber stamp, there's no reason we can't discuss why the document exists, why it came to the condition that it is. So we can still be forthcoming to the public even with a town administrator. But the day-to-day operations have to be taken over by somebody who can be here every day, can watch what's going on, and people have a place to go to get an answer. They don't have to wait 2 weeks till a selectmen's meeting to get an answer. So, and then as far as these go, I mean, I agree, the key things is the day-to-day operations, the budgeting, and those types of things. However, just with this quick overview that we've done, since neither of these documents were available, I think I certainly need more time to digest them to be able to make a decision on to what part or which document to go with.
And while we are empowering, obviously, the town administrator to carry on those day-to-day activities to ultimately be responsible for certain things, I think that there would be nothing lost by still reserving in the Board of Selectmen ultimate, if there is a problem, if the decision is made by the town administrator that we feel is so wrong or so greatly impacts the town, but wouldn't warrant, just firing the person and that being our only, that we would still retain the ability to address those grievances should they arise as well. So then we're not handling every little thing that happens, but if we, if we hired an administrative assistant for $175,000, I think that, the Board of Selectmen would need to,
Retain-
not that that would happen, but you never know, so.
Retain
right,
the
yeah.
authority to
Right.
say, well, maybe this is not
Right.
the path to go down.
The 20th is Martin Luther King Day.
I was thinking, we have the election next Tuesday. Would next Monday be too soon?
Not for me.
Is it Monday our regular meeting? Because we meet on the
Yes.
second and third,
That's-
so next
that's
Monday's a
second.
regular meeting.
Regular meeting anyways, but would a week be too soon?
Yeah, no.
No.
To, I would suggest as suggested to look at one, look at both, whatever, highlight, pick and choose, go with one. Like I said, as I already stated, I looked at the education experience, and part of Jeff's, I would substitute for what I put in, just because it's maybe not the master's degree requirement right up front, but the more specificity of experience and what job you've had, as at least a starting point. That's how I feel. So a week would not be too soon? Would be enough time?
That's reasonable.
That we have it.
Yeah.
All right. So that would be the 13th.
Electronic copies are available if that would be easier.
Yes.
At
Do
18,
you have an electronic
6:30.
copy as well?
Of yours?
Yes, I can send it electronically.
I'll send mine, you send yours.
Yeah, easier. Pick and choose. It's done in Word, so. All right. And if we decide, well, when we nail a job description down, we could vote to post at that time. It's hard to post for a job without the job description. So carry this over to. All right. The next item on the agenda would be to discuss hiring an interim town coordinator. And again, this was delegated to Mr. Ritter to look up some names and perhaps even contact or just have a list or a few names, faces, suggestions for the board, if we so choose to go this route.
I've put the word out on the administrators network, both the small town administrators and Mass Municipal Associations network, already have received 3 names for potential candidates. I've not contacted any of them because I wanted to have this discussion with you prior to making any calls. But if the board so desires, I know other individuals, frankly, who might be interested who I would not endorse, but I have 3 names that I know I can personally endorse, and I'm sure if I just spend another hour on the phone, I can drum up another couple, 3 names. So you might have a pool of ultimately 5 or 6 that I can call and inquire as to their, I know they're available. The question is whether they'd be interested in taking a 90 or a 120-day interim appointment. They tend to be either retired or currently between assignments. And if you so direct me, I'm happy to take that on this week and actually give you some names on the 13th that you could consider active candidates. I hasten to add one thing. It is possible, it happens from time to time, not every time, it happens that you hire an interim candidate and you like them so much, it works out and you decide to offer them the position. It's a try before you buy kind of thing. It also happens sometimes that you try them out and you absolutely know they're not the person for the job, so it can work both ways. But I think it is to your benefit to have at least 2 or 3 people that you talk to, even on the phone. You don't have to bring them in for a formal interview, but talk to them on the phone, get a sense for what they bring to the town, and then select one as an interim for 90, 120 days while we go ahead with the hiring process.
Does that sound plausible?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Is it gonna be a full-time position?
I doubt it, given that the salary that's available, the balance in the town administrator's salary account for the balance of this year would probably, again, you're hiring someone without benefits. You know, I guess I can't say, Julie. I mean, it could be someone willing to do 40 hours a week, or it could be someone who has other engagements and only wants to work 20 hours. That's strictly negotiable. If you would like to make it a condition, by all means do so. I'll take it forward on that basis if you'd like the 40 hours a week.
At least ask the question.
Right.
How many hours a week are you available?
Or willing or unable.
So if we're looking at this position without benefits, just as a dollar amount, do we know how much is left in the salary account?
Yeah.
So 90
That'd be
to.
my hourly rate
Right.
for the balance of the
So
year.
90 to 120 days gets us to about May.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do for May till
Well,
July
yeah.
1st?
Make it through June 30th.
Okay,
And that would dictate, that would probably dictate
the hourly
the
rate and
hours
everything
more than
else. Right.
so.
Yeah,
Just,
I can, it's very simple math to do.
yeah, this much money, this many weeks, this many days, 2 days a week.
5 days a
3
week.
days a week, or
Yeah.
5 days for, morning hours or after,
Yeah.
or whatever is.
Okay.
all right.
Yes.
If I can, just a question for the town coordinator. What do you, given obviously your experience, having a good idea of what do you believe that we could get by with if we had to do, like, number of hours per week due to, obviously not to the quality of work that you were doing, but getting us by through?
I understand
yeah.
your question. I think to hold the fort, to keep the fire burning, you get the budgets done, get the town meeting articles written, assuming the staff are willing to step up. You can get by with 20 or 25 hours a week, getting by. Half-time, I'd say on the high side of 25 would be better than 20.
Okay.
You don't if you have a really good person, really 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 25 hours, and that would really do it.
Okay, great, thank you.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time to bring it up, but I've been contacted by a few people asking if we were going to do a counter proposal, counter offer. And I'm just putting it out there because I don't know what we're doing. As one member, I can't say what the heck we're doing. But
Yes.
and I don't know if this question is appropriate for me to ask, so you can tell me it's not, and that's fine. But I don't know the current, if a current town coordinator is already under contract, that would legally prevent considering our counteroffer without inducing him to break a contract.
Mr. Robinson is correct. The analogy I used in a discussion earlier today with a board member is, the perfect analogy that everybody can understand is you've scheduled a big wedding. You have everyone there, the hall, the caterer, the cake, and the bride comes up the aisle and the groom never shows up. If I were to abandon a valid contract, it would be analogous to leaving the bride standing at the altar. Can it be done? Yes. There could be legal consequences, not will, but could be legal consequences and expenses to me personally. And frankly, I think we're just past that time where a counteroffer could reasonably be made and accepted because I have signed a contract. Was asked pointedly why I was not speaking for the month when I was being interviewed and negotiating a contract, because I didn't have a contract. And the opportunity to counter came and went. So it would be breaking a contract to entertain it. Not that I find it very flattering, and I thank you for the consideration.
So what you're saying is you're taking Sterling because it's close to work, it's more money, but as far as town administration abilities, Templeton would probably be as equal to Sterling with the experience that you want to get out of it with one of your proponents, I believe. But now we're saying you signed a contract and we can't counter contract to keep you here. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I've signed a contract. I've exercised a clause in a contract with Templeton to terminate my contract here. So this is it's really a matter of contract law and tort. It's pretty clear as that goes. You know, do people litigate this? No, but there's often a lot of banging about and, you know, threats made when you violate a contract.
Okay.
Okay, back to having Mr. Ritter do that process that we just discussed. I would just have a vote.
You want to vote?
Yeah, I would, just keeps things clear and all.
I would make a motion that we direct Town Coordinator Jeff Ritter to fill an interim Town Coordinator position on a part-time basis with no benefits until June 30th, 2014.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
One question, you said to fill, so we're gonna just have him pick the person and fill it, or to just come up with candidates to fill?
Do you want to come up with candidates?
Present candidates to the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second.
All right, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And yes.
Okay.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Board of Selectmen policies and procedures. I believe at the last meeting, it was decided the red line version with all the changes and everything, it was decided by the board to just toss that out and not even consider that. So we're back to the draft originally submitted. That contains the wording, town administrator, and gives that individual responsibilities and authorities to do the things in job description. And this was available in hard copy at the last meeting, and it was also sent electronically to us. So between the last meeting and today, or tonight, we could go over it and make any adjustments or questions on the original draft.
I don't have the wording, but I did make a note to put something in about quorum, the remote participation, because we voted to adopt remote participation, and I don't have the exact wording on what we adopted. It was a Mass General law, I believe.
Where would that appropriately be?
Probably in the meeting procedures or quorum. On page 3.
Procedures, quorum, separate title, remote participation.
Yeah.
We can certainly dredge up the vote and the act. Well, I'm pretty sure we quoted the state statute. It was
Yeah.
local acceptance, so we quoted it verbatim.
Yeah, I believe we did it over at the high school, Key, I think.
No, I think we did it at Baldwin Elementary School gym.
Well, that's right, I forgot about those 2 or 3 meetings that we had there.
That's where that happened.
And that was the summer last, spring?
Summer of 12, August.
Yeah, it was August 12th, yeah.
I know there was a very specific motion, specific language was adopted. so-
Yes, we did follow the Attorney General's wording as far as requirements of it. In other words, you don't use it as a regular thing while I'm going on vacation, but if you do happen to be on vacation and there is a meeting that comes up, you can't take part, or if you're in the hospital, military service, or just physically unable to be at the meeting.
The other note that I made was on page 4, executive session. Toward the end of that paragraph, it says executive session should only occur when all members are present. And I'm not sure if that's practical. These are just things I'm putting out there for consideration.
Okay. Executive session right above agenda procedures? Is that? what you-
Yeah, on page, mine's paginated, page 4.
Okay. I have a majority of the members present must vote to enter. And I believe, well, that's kind of that's really how it works, so that may be unnecessary wording.
Yeah, mine says all.
That may have been one of the changes we picked up in the edit along the way.
Yeah, because I remember
Very
I
original.
sent it out electronically after it was handed out at a meeting.
Yeah, I think this version is the one that was handed out at the last meeting.
Yeah, I've got
I
multiple
didn't-
copies, and I think they all say that, so I don't know which one I missed.
I just had a question as well. On vacancies on the board on page 1, it says that when a vacancy occurs in the membership of the Board of Selectmen, the board or its remaining members shall call a special town election to fill the unexpired term unless such vacancy occurs within 6 months. Then vacancies occurring in the middle of term or result of resignation on page 5 establishes a different, it says the vacancy shall be filled by a vote of the Board of Selectmen following written notification to the town administrator. Though this only applies to boards other than the Board of Selectmen. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It should say that a little more clearly, though. Maybe a little editing would be vacancies
In
of
not-
boards or committees other than the Board of Selectmen.
Okay,
shall
okay.
be, yeah.
And I do know that this would be a change from what is currently practiced, correct? In which boards fill their own vacancies. I know the advisory board, don't you fill your own?
Yes, we do,
Okay.
by law.
Yep.
The advisory board is I think the exception that proves the rule.
Okay.
Vacancies on non-elective boards are appointed
Yes.
by the board.
Gotcha.
So maybe what's guidance or advice, but you hold the the appointive power.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And that is the catch.
Was there a motion made to change all to a majority, or is it still all in the executive session language?
I think we can just change it since we haven't voted to accept these yet.
Yes.
We have to vote to change that. I would agree.
Yeah, my copy has the majority, so it may be, this may be one of the changes that was voted, because it was before the board for several months last fall.
And under agenda procedures on page 4, underneath executive session, it says the responsibility for coordinating and planning the meeting agenda is that of the town administrator. And right now, I believe that duty falls to the chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
You know what I'd vote for if I had a vote, which, and terminology does matter. Strike the words coordinating. The responsibility for planning the meeting agenda is that of the chairman of the board. That's planning the agenda. The chairman can't plan an agenda without talking to the town administrator and other members of the board, members of the public as to what should be on the agenda. And we're not talking about scheduling the agenda or providing the detail, we're talking about planning the agenda. If the town administrator at the 11th hour decided something that was planned is not appropriately brought forward because the detail is lacking or whatever, then they just come forward and say that as the town administrator, and you just struck in something from the planned agenda till a later time or until the detail was available.
And it also builds that kind of check and balance, doesn't give
Yeah.
the administrator the ability to control the agenda.
The agenda,
Right.
right.
Mhm.
So add the wording for remote participation. All or majority for executive session, either each. Eliminate coordinating and scratch town administrator and insert chairman.
Yep.
And the vacancies, clarify it's other than the board of selectmen and other. So under executive session, insert all or a majority? Majority, okay, so I'll leave that. So does the board feel comfortable voting on this with the changes, or would you like to see the changes, particularly the wording on clarifying boards other than board of selectmen and elected boards? Would you want to see that wording before voting to accept these?
I think that might be a good idea. I
I mean,
mean, we're
it's-
gonna meet Monday anyway.
Yeah,
so-
and it's been over a year since they were submitted. I mean,
Right.
what's one more week? Okay. So for, definitely for the 13th, we will have job description for town administrator and policies and procedures of the selectmen. All right. We good with that? All right, next up is discuss Edgewood Development, the gift agreement. That's been in place for a while. Originally, there was, when this Edgewood development was gonna happen, there was a proposal for total amount of $75,000 given to the town. I believe it started off as a cash payment, then in-kind services were discussed, which would be, almost the same as cash up front. It was gonna go to the common improvement, and then after discussion at the Board of Selectmen's meeting, it broke it up in two. Half went to Gilman Way because they were trying to get the improvements and stuff over there done, and it was thought that part of that money would work well over there. And the other was gonna be for the Common Improvement Committee project. The problem with the Common Improvement was, or is, each time they went before town meeting to look for funding to do an engineered plan, they were denied the money. And we got at least 2 members of the planning board here know that Bob was on a common improvement. You can't apply for grants and other things without having an engineered plan and drawing. So they were always, you know, yeah, we'd like to do this, but we can't do it because we don't have the funding for the drawings. Since that time, the Edgewood development was canceled, and that land was donated to the state as green space. And there's half of that promise or amount in the agreement that Edgewood, since their development didn't happen, they are looking for the town to excuse them out of the written agreement and not hold them to that sum of $37,500. When this was last discussed, we were given an outline of the work of in-kind services that was done at Gilman Way. There was a letter read, and the contract was read into the record. And tonight, we're again discussing what we're going to do if the board wants to hold the development to that basic contract or to let them out. I know we have a couple members of the planning board. I know
Yeah,
Bob.
okay, I can say a little bit about that, Mr. Chairman. Planning board negotiated long and hard to get that. That was actually mitigation money because it was a big development going into the town. They knew that there was going to be consequences with the schools and et cetera. So they were very agreeable to do that. Originally, the whole $75,000 was committed to the common improvement. One of the reasons was the Timothy Higgins, who was the, I don't know what his position was with the developer. He was the person we negotiated with all the time. He liked the idea of the town having a pretty common. He thought it would enhance his sales of his new homes. He just thought it was a good idea, so he was all in favor. And then it went along, and they were not able to sell any lots because the real estate tanked. So with no warning whatsoever, they decided to sell it to the, what's the agency, ECR? And the negative thing about that is the town, obviously, the town's never gonna collect any taxes from it. Secondly, they picked out some frontage units, A&R units, I believe, is that right, Kirk? That they're gonna hold for their own development later on. Furthermore, the town bent over backwards to obligate them. When they first went into that agreement, it was, at that time, the minimum lot size was 1 acre, but it changed to 2 acres while they were developing the development. They didn't notify anyone in town in time, so they were actually obligated for 2-acre lots for each house. The ZBA let them off the hook on that. So we bent over backwards to them already. I don't see that, and it's a legal binding commitment. I think we, especially with the finances in Templeton, I think we should make them stand to their agreement. And apparently, it's not a big thing because I don't see Tim Higgins here. So
He was invited, but could not attend. After he said, "I'm available to attend a meeting for discussion," he was regrettably not able to.
Which at the last meeting, we agreed to invite him to come here. And this is part of the reason, it's the reason it's on the agenda. because he said he wanted to come to a meeting and he could attend, so it's on the agenda. And
Excuse me, there's one more thing I'd like to add. That piece of property, I don't know how it could have been negotiated differently, but that piece of property would be a great commercial piece of property also. Templeton sorely needs commercial property, and it would be much more valuable to the town than it would open space.
and just so there is multiple page gift agreement between the town and Edgewood. It is signed by Edgewood Development Company. It has Jared LaRusso, president, duly authorized, and it's signed by 4 members of the Board of Selectmen. And within this, it says on the second page, Edgewood agrees to gift up to $75,000 of in-kind services to include personnel and equipment and/or construction materials, or at Edgewood's option, a cash payment to the town. Such services and materials may include, but are not limited to, excavating, grading, utility installation at the 2 projects within the town. Materials may include stone products, gravel, road-based similar products. It is the intent of this agreement that the total value of these services is to be split evenly between the town common project and Gilman Field. If such services and/or materials cannot be completed and/or delivered prior to the completion of the subdivision, and in any event on or before August 24th, 2015, Edgewood agrees to provide a cash payment